we've got a window of opportunity here. So we're gonna take it. Dad's gonna go down there on the creek and cut those. I'm gonna work on these guys right here. There's a pretty good cluster of them. The thing about it is, these things don't look that big at the bottom of the hill. Man, you get up to these things. These are big trees, tall, good trees. This one here's got some worm in it. It's all right, size worm makes up for it. We're gonna get started. We're gonna take this one down first, followed up with this one here. Constantly battling the weather one way or another. Seems like it's always too hot, too cold, too wet, too dry. Snow's not really ever an issue here, but every now and then we have trouble with snow. Anyway, we're going to do the video a little backwards today. This morning we did get rained out. We were able to work for a couple hours anyway before the heavy stuff got there. It was a great way to salvage the day because this morning I got up at 5 o'clock. I got headed that direction because I always leave out fairly early. The further I got from home, the worse it looked, and I debated on turning around. At one time I hit snow this morning for a short period of time, and Dad did as well after talking to him at coffee. Like I said, just days like today where you don't know what you're going to get to do and if you're going to get to work, it's just kind of up in the air. Like I said, thankfully we didn't run the skidder, but thankfully we were able to do some cutting. And days where Dad and I can both cut, it's actually a lot of fun. It's pretty enjoyable. Where, like on today's setup where I was kind of up above him looking down, so he was working in the valley. I enjoy days like today. Makes me wish I had a skidder operator just that much more, so I didn't have to run a skidder and I could always do the cutting. Just days like today where you get in there and just a group of trees and you kind of got to pick which tree you cut which. It makes it fun, keeps things interesting. All in all, a good set of trees. Tomorrow, I know we're going to do something tomorrow. Dad and I have already talked about it today. I would not be surprised if we don't just work the log deck tomorrow, and there's some logs, I think we can fish them out with the skid steer, but it's still raining right now. We haven't got any big totals today, but this time of year we don't need any wet weather. So I think the next 10 days will be all right, but it's going to be wet for a few days, and we probably won't run the skidder for a few days. So probably some more cutting videos coming up here in the future. Guys, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. Thank you for following along. It truly does mean the world to Dad and I. Enjoy today's video. See you tomorrow. I don't know, guys. It's iffy. We're going to go down here and try it. It's been raining off and on. I even hit some snow this morning on my way over early. It's been kind of, it'll rain and it'll quit, it'll rain and it'll quit. And I think it's pretty inevitable. It's going to rain. I mean, the clouds back to the southwest here, they don't look like they're full of joy. Dad's in front of me. If anything, we'll take his little truck back there and try to get some trees on the ground. I at least want to do a little cutting today. It makes me feel good that I just get something cut every day. I need to do something every day. Ain't got to do a lot, but you got to do something every day. So my tripod's broke. I go through a lot of these things, these cheap Chinese made deals. I need to try to find a better tripod, because just like today, when you need it to work, it's not working, so we have to improvise. Pretty good sized tree Dad's working on. Nothing like this jewel here though. I'm surprised he's even letting me cut this. And we're gonna take her down just right there on top of that other one. And what we'll do, we'll take the skidder and we'll push those tops. After we get the logs out, we'll push those tops right back in here where all these things are at. That's a shame. That's a shame. I felt that thing cut a little bad when I was boring it out. That's kind of my worst fear. These trees are old. Luckily, it doesn't go very far. No, maybe not. Hopefully we can get by with just a foot. Get past this swell. Still a good tree. Got a lot of volume in it. Dad brought that other one down. Let's see what he's getting ready to do here now. Now, a lot of people comment about our cutting style, saying they've never seen it before and doesn't look like you have a lot of control. It's debatable. I mean, yeah, as far as you putting a big ugly hinge across something like this, you probably don't have the control, but then again, we're cutting high grade material, and a hinge would hurt the value of our overall log and run a risk of busting something like that, which, even though that's a little bad, it's still a really good lumber log. And the last thing you want to do is run the risk of extreme fiber pull or busting it. I don't know. I seem to do all right with it. Dad does all right with it. That's kind of where I learned it. I mean, this is a pretty common cutting style for here, this part of the world here in Southwest Missouri. I know a lot of loggers that use this bore and spur cut technique. It's not like it's our own special style that just we use. I mean, it's pretty common here. There's different ways to kind of control where you want your fall to go. Of course, you know, in the last couple weeks, I've been kind of focusing more on my cutting. And just like taking that 90 off the face of it, generally that would maybe serve as your hinge if you were going to leave the hinge wood in there, which I took the 90 off the front face that's in the ground. But just like pulling this tree one way or another, you see I come over here and clip this spur and left some on this hole. That's why you've got a little bit of root pull here off the stump. What that does, if I'd have went ahead and clipped that spur, then went to clip this one, I'd have probably fell that tree right on top of the other one. But leaving that one there, it pulls it just enough to kind of miss that tree towards still right there in the same area. But I'm not just stacking it on top of each other. In the midst of all that, that little hackberry got away unscathed. So yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, it's nothing like what you guys do with your hinge and your wedges and stuff like that. I never claimed it was, but as far as people saying we have absolutely no control over these trees, or it's just a Wild West way of cutting, I don't think that could be any further from the truth. Just like when you bore these things out, you know, that's just like they're propped up on stilts with those hinges, or excuse me, those spurs. The whole thing had the top out of it. But yeah, so it's just like it's sitting there, and then when you're ready to bring the tree down, you just clip your spurs, and that's how you release it, almost like your triggers on a hinge. I've done a little hinge cutting. Going through get my certification as a certified logger, we had to take the cutting classes, and it was all new to me, and it was pretty handy to know how to use it, and I'm glad I do. And trust me, I'm definitely not the best on it, but I can do it. But for me, this is comfortable. This is where I feel at home. This is what works for me. I feel I know my way around this bore and spur cut pretty well, and for what we do, it definitely works out good. We're all punched out here. I'm going to try to set the phone down, but if I can find a good place to sit, we're just going to clip that part of the double right there. This tree ain't bad. We might cut it as well. It's got a really good straight log in it. It's got some size to it. It's just this one here is so much bigger, it kind of overshadows it. So if I can find you a place to sit down here, we'll bring this thing down. Poor little squirrel there. See? He was staying in that old dead cherry, which I was trying to miss it. We didn't tear it up too bad, but I bet it kind of woke him up from his little nap. So hopefully here in a bit he'll go back to his home. I try not to tear up trees like that, have a good home for wildlife or habitat trees. I'm not a hunter, as I've said before, but part of what makes logging so great is getting to be out here with nature and all the animals. It makes it that much better coming out here and seeing whether it's the squirrels, the deer, the coons, the possums. That's part of what makes it fun. So, and trying to be a good steward of the land, I try to take care of their homes too. So here in a bit, when we're done with this, maybe he'll find his way back there and go back to sleep. The only bad thing about cutting walnut when it's cold is how brittle they become when they hit these little Y crotches. They will pop, which I'm still going to try to salvage. I was going to cut the log off right there at that crotch anyway. And I think we can still salvage that no worse than what it is, because you go back here to this one, it's just bark and some of the sapwood. Of course, that tree there, that limb there on the tree, just the overall impact and the force, it cracked it pretty good. But those crotches right there are the kind you got to watch out for. If they hit just right, I have seen these things just split right into you all the way to the butt. And it never fails. It's on a high-end log, a real true good grained log. Red oak's real notorious about it too. But you don't lose near the money on your red oak like you do the walnut when you have some damage. So we just try to be as careful as we can. There's ways to combat it. We've had some high-end trees where we've took the tops out of them before we brought them down. We've hired people to get up in them, just take the top completely out. I've got a friend there at Stockton who I kind of grew up with. He's who I usually recommend for any kind of tree work around home. But you have to be real careful, because not every tree, you can't go out and just put a ton of money in every tree just to bring it down safely. It's kind of the same way with digging them. There's got to be some give and take. You've got to know what's going to make you money and what's going to cost you money. Everybody thinks just because one tree can be dug and you can really gain on it, every tree can be dug. That's really not the case, especially where we're at. You can get in some areas, like in these creek bottoms, if it's a lot of silty soil, you can dig down quite a ways and it's worth it. But other times you're not really gaining anything with the time and money you're spending to do it. So it's just really, you got to watch what you do there. Dad, he's still working down there in the bottom. I'm still playing a game of pickup sticks here on this hillside. Trying my best just to bring things down carefully, because there's a lot of good young trees and we are trying very hard not to damage any of them. The hackberry, the elm, the hedge, the locust. No matter how long you've been cutting or how much you cut, you always throw chains. It seems like I throw a lot more chains running this full chisel than I do running round top. Most of the time when I throw my chains, it's because I'm cutting with the top of the bar. So it is just what it is. It's not that big a deal. It just comes with the job. I cut with the top of the bar a lot. When I'm making cuts, if there's pressure on the tree, I'll come down 3/4 of the way, then come up to keep from getting pinched. So it's just part of it. Like I said, I get pinched with round top too, but it just seems like this square chain's pretty aggressive, and I seem to get hung up a lot more with it. So Dad, he's over here now, starting on that side of the hill, kind of getting into my Kool-Aid. I thought he was going to work kind of the creek, but he's over there working on some of those big guys on that side. There's a little access road right there, so he's on that side of that road. 3, 4, 5, 6, a bunch. I don't know how many more I got to cut right through here. Like I said, I've just been kind of going through, zigzagging up and down as to where to fall things so I don't tear anything up, trying to be pretty conscious about our residuals. But we put a big hole in the sky here in the canopy for some young growth. Well, he beat me to the good one. That's a heck of a tree. we might just watch this one come down before we go back to cutting. I had to stop and fuel up. Dad's got the gas and oil on the back of his truck. Short little walk over here. We'll watch him bring this one down. That sounds amazing when it's coming down to the ground. It's like a jet engine. Good bunch of trees. Pretty good morning. We got a couple hours in anyway. The rain's starting to get harder now. I'd say we'll probably go in. Dad's still working up that big one he cut there. I brought that other little one down, so I got a pretty good little pile of them going on up here where I've been working. Just got them laying every which direction because, well, as I've said before, trying to take care of the residual trees here. So they'll be pretty easy to get out. This is fairly open. Good cutting. I would cut places like this every day if I could. This is really a great job of timber here. Good flush cuts. I love a good flush cut across the stump. Good trees, good trees. Happy to have them. I don't usually cut trees this small, but I'd say I'll probably go ahead and bring it down since it's been worked over by lightning, and I can't even promise that there'll be anything in that tree. But one thing I do know is it's not going to get any better, and it's big enough to take to market, so we could cut it and roll the dice, or we could leave it for walnut production for wildlife. But we've got several young trees here, so we're good on residuals, so we'll just roll the dice and see if we get anything out of it. Guys, thank you so much for following along. It means the world. We're going to get out of here before we get any wetter.